Welcome. Thank you for joining. Hi everyone. Hi. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Rosaline, and I don't know if everybody here is new or we have some regulars that come on our lives. So if you're regular, you should have seen me at least once before. But if you're new, welcome to Next's Wednesday live. That happens every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Okay, so today I have a very interesting topic. Now, we chose this topic because this is the most important step that most people that have admissions right now are currently taking, because at this point, admission into universities are completely closed, and the next stage is to get your visa and then relocate either with your family or as a single person. So we decided that it was important that we bring some information to you about your visa application, visa processing, and all the things that you actually need to do. Now, so we're going to be talking about common mistakes. However, I'm going to make mention of what a typical visa application is supposed to be like, and then we can now talk about common mistakes that people have actually made that have cost them a refusal, right? That has cost them a refusal. You don't want to get refused, because at this stage of your life, if you get a refusal, just imagine the amount of money that has gone down. You get, so you don't want to actually get to that point where you get refused your visa. So I don't know if I've introduced myself. My name is Rosaline, and I work typically in the marketing and visa departments in Nexi Concept. So today I'm going to be bringing you information about visas. So can I get a, if you want me to go ahead and start now, thank you, Mo. If you want me to go ahead and start now, or maybe wait for more people to join, let me know. The people that are here, can I go ahead and start? Okay, so I don't know what I got into my eye. I think it's my hair. Yeah, okay, Ehis, all right. Ehis and Mabelina concept. All right, thank you. So, if any of you here currently have a an admission in a UK university, and you already have your CAS, then it means that you're at the stage where you want to apply for your visa. Now, if you do not have your CAS, okay, yes, I'll talk about the duration. Yeah, you have the chance to ask questions. This conversation might be like 20 minutes, and you have like 40 minutes for questions. Now, so if you haven't gotten your CAS already, then you should be in the process of getting your CAS. Now, I want to talk about a sad news for some people that I have actually gotten information from. Most of them not working with us, just contacting us for inquiries and all. And a lot of people have been automatically deferred to the next session. A lot of people, their schools have actually stopped issuing CAS. Now, the reason is this September, the crowd that applied. Okay, so I'll get to your questions, Adepe, Juo, Labisi. I'll get to your questions after I'm just done with this talk. I'll get to all the questions. I'll answer everything. So I don't mind if you drop the questions on the chat here. Then I'll scroll back up to answer them. So I've gotten some inquiries from some people who have not been able to get their CAS, and then they're getting information from their school that they've been automatically deferred because they're not able to get their CAS. Now there's one major reason for this. The major reason basically is schools have gotten to their capacity. Now the UK schools have a threshold for the amount of CAS they can issue. And most at times they would issue more offers, like those admission offers, compared to the amount of CAS that the school has license to give. Now, this is because a lot of people have offers and do not actually take up the offers. Most people have 2, 3, 4 offers from different schools in the UK. So how are they sure you're going to go with theirs? So they will most likely give out more admission, But when it now gets to time for CAS, they now do it on a first come, first serve basis. So a lot of people who did not start their process on time, especially if your school requires maybe bank statement or an interview, say you have to do an interview before your what they call it, before you get your unconditional offer or your CAS. Some schools require you to update your documentation. So some people's passports were expiring too soon, so they needed an updated passport. Some needed maybe IELTS because your English was not good enough and stuff like that. So anything that just caused a delay, just means that other people that had those documentation have actually gone through. So this September, we have a lot of people who have not been able to get their CAS, who are still working on it, and some people that have already automatically been deferred. So if you're in that category, I'm going to say I'm sorry. If you're still battling with your school to get your CAS, try as much as possible to contact them. If there are schools we work with, you can contact us. Maybe we can do something in that regard. But in most cases, they are going to defer you to the next session. And if that happens, then you have to start working on getting your documentations right so that you're among the first people who will be issued CAS for the next session, because the same thing that's happening this September will probably double for January, and the timeline between September and January is so short that there's not enough time to process a lot of things. So that's just something I decided to say, even though it doesn't concern visa. Now, if you have gotten your CAS or your school has told you you will get your CAS soon, congratulations. The next stage is for you to actually apply for your visa. So what are the things you need for your visa application? So as the main applicant, you need, first of all, you need your CAS, which is the most important document. That is the document that actually shows that you are being sponsored by the school to come into the UK to study. Now, there are several information that is contained in your CAS. I'm going to go over them in a bit, but let me mention all the documents you're going to be needing. Important documents. So you need your CAS, you need your offer letter, your unconditional offer. You need your financial bank statement. Now, your financial bank statement has to be minimum 28 days, where your full maintenance cost for the duration of your study. So if it is 1 year, if it is 2 years, if it is 1.6, 1 year, 6 months. Yeah. So if it's 1 year, 6 months, you have to have your maintenance cost for that. Ideally, basically, it's just 1 year. Anyways, you're going to have an amount that covers for 9 months. Let's just say 1 year. But if it's for 2 years, if it's for 1.5 years, if it's for 1 year, you have a maintenance fee, both for inside London and both for outside London. Now, the fee for inside London is 12,006. The fee for outside London is 9,207. This is in pounds. So you have to have the equivalent of that in your bank account. Then you also need to have the balance of your tuition fee. So if you're going to a school that has already made you pay 50%, you need to have the 50% balance. Now, if you're going to a school that has made you pay the minimum amounts that you're supposed to pay, so if you say you're going to a school that says pay just £2,000 and get your CAS, and you've made £2,000, so the balance of your school fees, you have to have that amount in totality, right? So the balance. So you're going to have your maintenance cost, both whether you're in London or outside London, that will be determined by the amount you're supposed to have, and then the balance of your tuition fee. Now, these two converted into Naira and for 28 days. So that's the document you need. You also need your international passport. You also need your tuberculosis test. Very important. It's now getting very, very difficult for people to get tuberculosis tests done now because of the rush. And it's not only for students. People are going for work. People are going for, their spouse sponsoring their visas and all that. So for now, the rush is so much. So I don't know how you people are doing it, but whatever way you want to do it, please try and get your tuberculosis test done, because without your tuberculosis test, you ain't going nowhere. And for people that have had their tuberculosis test done maybe months prior, and even though it's going to fly for visa, let's say your visa, you're applying now and it's going to expire maybe early September. Say you did it very early and expiring September, you might be able to get your visa with that. But if it's expired at the time you're traveling, you need to actually do another tuberculosis test. So if that is going to be your case, you need to start looking for how to actually, apply for another tuberculosis test to be carried out. Then, so that's for main applicants. Then now I said I'm going to come back to the what is stipulated in your CAS. The other documents you also need to submit are the documents that have been used to give you your admission. So most likely your CAS is going to carry these documents, right? So the documents your CAS is carrying, you need to show all of them. So if you have used your undergrad certificate, your transcript, your WAEC, maybe your references, if it is mentioned, you have to actually upload all of them. So your certificate, transcript, WAEC, or proof of English. So if it's IELTS you did, or the school's own internal English exam, then you have to upload that as well. Then if they make mention of your references, yeah, I'm actually sweating. I'm not in Nigeria, and Europe is actually very hot right now, and these people don't use AC in their hotels. They only use heaters, and for now I'm stuck. So anyways, thank you. Thank you. So what was I saying? So you need your certificate, transcript, and your WAEC. Now, any other further documents you also need to. So the further documents are now case by case, depending on your school. So I'll give you an instance. There was an instance of a guy that used several references, several work references, because the university just wanted to verify that he actually had the experience that he claimed he had, and all the references from all the places that he had worked, all the places that he had schooled, they requested for it, and it was mentioned in the CAS. So if he didn't have that, then he wouldn't have been able to submit. And why this is important is because if you have mentioned all those things, it means that you probably most likely would have to put your CV, and it has to correlate with what you have on your CV. Now, that's another document that you might actually need to submit. So if you're doing this, your CAS will actually determine what you are supposed to submit. So make sure every single document contained in your CAS is is also uploaded on your application. So that's that for main applicant. So there might be other documents now. So these are now case by case. So let's say a name in your WAEC is misspelled. There's an S instead of a T, or something like that. Then you can use an affidavit to correct that. An affidavit will suffice. Say if you had maybe issues with any particular document, you actually have to do an affidavit for the purpose of that particular document. So those are the case by case basis that would be determined by individual applications. Now, if you have dependents, that's your wife or your kids, then there are other documents that they're going to have to submit once they're making their own application. Now, it now depends on, when they're applying. So if they're applying alongside you, they're also going to be needing your CAS, your admission letter. For your wife, she's going to be needing a marriage certificate. If you're married, your own application, you also have to submit your marriage certificate, since you're both applying together. So I'll get to that answer in Justice Bookie. I'll get to the answer. So if you have so your marriage certificate, the bank statement that covers for your wife. Now, for each dependent, you need 6,120 pounds, right? So the equivalent of that must also be in your account or in our account, right? So you must have the equivalent of that. So if you have 3 dependents, you have to times that figure by 3, right? So that's what you're supposed to have. Now, so her financial statement, marriage certificate, maybe pictures from your wedding, your CAS, admission letter. Now, if you have kids, then the birth certificate of your kids, and then tuberculosis test. So those are basically so I'll answer. Don't worry, Justice Bookie, I'll answer that when I finish, so that it will not drag me out of the conversation. Don't worry, I'll answer that. So what was I even saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So if you have children, you need to put their birth certificates, then the tuberculosis test, very, very important. Now there might be instances where you might have to put other documents, maybe like affidavit or a letter of explanation explaining certain things. Now, that is if your spouse have had a history. I'm just going to take a minute to talk about this because the purpose of this live is common mistakes. So it's not just the what do you call it? Not just the documents you're going to be needing. It's common mistakes. Now, if you have had history with the UK, say you were previously denied a visa for whatever purpose. So some people have been denied because of financial purpose. Some people have been denied for inconsistencies. So let's say you applied 2 times and you have dropped separate information those 2 times and then they caught you. So if you're going to be applying this time around, sometimes, not all the time. So this is also case by case. Sometimes we would advise that we come up with a cover letter explaining the details of whatever issues you had on your previous refusals. Previous refusals are very, very, very important. When you're making your application, you have to go in line with what you have submitted before. And if they had issues with you before based on anything, we have to address it. That is why for people that have had previous refusals, in fact, even if you haven't had previous refusals, even if it was a success, but the story is changing, right? We always advise you work with us because we're able to treat your case very specifically and apply in a way that would not, cost you issues. Do you get? So if there are case by case basis like that, both for the main applicant and both for the dependent, then we treat it because we've had instances of main applicant getting the visa and dependent being denied because of past history. So I'm going to give instances later. Let me just finish with the what I have decided to talk about. Then I'm now going to talk about payment. So those are the documents you're going to need for each member of your family. So yourself, your wife. Okay, I didn't talk about the kids. So kids, basically the same thing. You need the international passport, you need financial statement, your CAS, your admission offer letter, their birth certificates, and then their tuberculosis tests. So then you can also put your marriage certificate as well to show that okay, you and your wife actually are the owners of these kids. Their birth certificate is the most important document. Then you also need to put consent letter. So there are 2 consent letters you need to attach. One consent letter from you and your wife stating that you both agree to take your kid or kids along with you for the journey, and then another consent letter that is going to be you're going to be downloading from the UKVI website that all states that you are financially responsible for them. So that just covers the person that is financially responsible. So if you and your wife have a joint account, both of you have to sign that. But if the money is in one person's account, then that person signs that for each and every member of your family. That's right, each child that you have, not every member, each child that you have. So for people who have adopted kids, or you're a single mother, I'm also going to treat your case very soon. Let me just note it down. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this to talk about what you're going to be needing if you're a single mom and if you have adopted kids, right? So what you're going to be needing in terms of the documentation. Now, so let's go to payment. So how much do you pay for this? So I'm going to be telling you the figure for 1 year because that's the figure that I have the specifics for. Then I'm going to be telling you the estimates if you're doing a 1 year 6 months course or a 2 year course. So once you have filled your form, filled all the details of your school and information that is required, then you need to make payment. So the first thing you have to pay for is your IHS fee. Now your IHS fee for 1 year is $893, right? This amount is charged in dollars. You have to look for a way to pay it. Most times Nigerian cards don't work, so you would have to look for a way to actually acquire a card that can enable you pay for your application in dollars. So if it's a 1 year 6 months course, it's around $1,200. If it's a 2 year course, it's around maybe $1,600. That's what you're going to be paying for each applicant. So for you and your spouse, you're paying that amount. Sometimes this is a case by case basis. I cannot tell you why it happens. Sometimes when we get to the kids IHS page, sometimes there's actually a reduction in the fee. Sometimes they pay the exact same amount. Sometimes there's a reduction in the fee. So I cannot tell you why at this point, but some people are just lucky and blessed like that to actually pay a figure that is lower than this for IHS. So each member of the family, if you're going with your family, everybody pays this amount if it's a 1 year course. If it's a 2 year course, 1,2. If it's a 3 year course, if it's a 1 year 6 months course, around 1,2. If it's a 1 year, it's a 2 year course, around 1,5. Now for your visa fee, it's $454 as of today. Now this figure actually fluctuates, so it can go up or down, but basically it's going to be around $450 to $460. So each member of the family also pays this amount. Now, once you are done with this, you now get to where you're going to book your appointment. Whew. Okay, so now this is the main cocoa appointment, because filling your visa form, not so much hassle, but getting an appointment right now with the whole rush, oh my goodness, it is not easy. As I'm talking to you now, I don't have the figure for Abuja, but in Ikeja, as a main applicant, there's practically no dates. Like for you to submit your application right now, there's practically no date. We still have dates for VI, but VI, you have to pay £55 just to even submit. In Ikeja, it's free. VI, you have to pay £55, and the dates are far, like ending August and early September. That's when you're going to be getting a date for main applicant. So if this is where you are currently, I advise you to contact us, so we'll see how best to help you get a close date, right? So this is a stage where you want your application to come out on time. Now for dependents, for some reason, I can't understand why TLS does this. For some reason, there are dates for dependents. So when your dependents are applying and then they are getting dates 1 or 2 weeks after application has been made, and main applicant has no date. So whose application is the dependent application riding on? Basically on the main applicant. So if you as a main applicant can't get a date, then what the heck is your dependent going to do with the information that they're submitting? Because it's your information they're going to be using to make a decision on their application. So it's such a funny thing, and I don't know why they have decided to do that. The only thing is that's what we're experiencing now, and that's why we really usually advise people, come to us, let's see how best to help you. So that is the situation on booking an appointment. So for the duration of your visa is 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So that's what we've been saying basically. So if you don't have any issues with your application, in 3 weeks time, your application should be out. Your results should be out. In most cases, it's a positive. It's a yes, right? And none of us pray for negatives. Then so yeah, there's still no way to fast track your application, so there's no priority or super priority. That feature has still not been reinstated, so the earlier you submit, the better. Now, what are the things that can actually stop you from submitting on time? People, you need to be proactive. You don't have time. Some people's applications are starting really early in September. So your visa is supposed to be out latest ending August. Why? Because first of all, you need to know, you need to be sure. You can't even just buy your flight ticket. You need to be sure that your visa is going to come out and when it's going to come out for you to buy your flight ticket. There are certain decisions you need to make only when you have actually gotten that positive. Do you get? Now, let me tell you, flight tickets now is so expensive because this is summer. Like I'm actually in Europe right now and the heat is killing. I don't know if people are looking at the sweats all over my body. The heat is killing. And this is the time that people from all over the world want to come and experience Europe, because this is the only time when people can afford to do things, right? Not when everywhere is cold, freezing, snowing, and everybody has to cover up everything and all that. So this time, everybody from around the world is coming into Europe, UK especially, because that's like one of the number one top tourist destination. So tickets are very expensive. Now, the closer to your date you're getting a ticket, the more expensive. So you want your visa to have come out, say, 3 weeks or 1 month even before you are ready to travel, so you can buy the best ticket. So imagine you have to travel in 2 days. Your visa is coming out today and you have a family of 5. Imagine the amount of money you have to spend on tickets, right? It's, exorbitant. So that's what I'm saying, earlier the better. So what can cause delay? The number one thing that causes delay is your bank statement. Your bank statement. A lot of people, because they're not sure, that's why we advise work with agents, credible agents. Because usually when we look at your application holistically and we see your chances of success, say maybe you're getting your cars or something, because there are some schools that don't need bank statement, yeah? We can advise on when to already start counting your bank statement. So imagine you're somebody who just got your cars, your school did not require bank statement, and it is just now. It's just now you're starting to count bank statement. Imagine if you start counting bank statement today. Today is what, 3rd or 4th? I can't even, what's the date? Today's 3rd. So that means before your bank statement is even complete, for you to be able to make application, we're talking about 28th of August or 29th, thereabouts, right? So already, you're already late. So people who don't have their bank statement complete, that did not start on time, that causes unnecessary delay. So if you are in this stage and you are sure you're getting your cars, then please contact us. Let's advise you on how to go about starting your bank statement. Now, for the lucky ones who already have their bank statement complete and also use this bank statement for their cars, you need to apply for your visa on or before the you need to do your biometrics on or before the 31st date between when you printed your visa and when you're submitting. 31st day, right? So say you printed your visa, your bank statement 3rd of last month was July. By 3rd of August is the last day you can actually use that same statement to apply for your visa. So if you're not even able to get a date to apply in the first place, it means that you probably need to extend your what do you call it, your bank statement. So you need to go and print a fresh bank statement. So that's one thing that causes delay. A lot of people, I'm ready, everything is ready, my bank statement. Please, you don't have time anymore. The second thing is tuberculosis tests, right? You're going there, you have everything ready, even your bank statement is ready and getting old, and then your tuberculosis test is in the next 2 weeks because you haven't done it since. There are no dates. So I don't know how people are going to do it. I don't have any magic. I'm just telling you the things that can actually cause delay, and I'm going to tell you why delay is dangerous very soon. So you want the tuberculosis test and your bank statement. Those are the two main culprits. Then another one that is rearing its head is international passports. I don't think I have to tell you what people are actually going through to make international passports, and people who have mistakes in their international passports. I don't know how to say it, but it's a mess right now. We have a lot of clients who we have had to defer because the international passport either didn't get ready on time, because some schools will accept your old international passport even if it has expired for the purpose of admission. But when it comes to getting your cars, it has to be the international passport that you're using for your visa that has to be in your cars, the information. So we cannot get you your cars unless you have it, and people are stuck. They've done biometrics 1 month, 2 months down the line. They're still waiting for their passports to come out. Then people who want to change their names to their husband's names, people who want to do 1 or 2 updates and all that. So those are also things that are causing delays. Then another set of people are people that transcript also cause delay for them. But I'm not going to talk about that because it's not very relevant when it comes to visa. That is most relevant when it comes to cars and admission, right? So now that I have spoken about this, let me now talk about common mistakes you should not be making. I'm putting this out there so that you just have an idea right? I'm not going to be talking about specifics because no two people are the same. If I give you specifics and you apply that to your own case, there might be something that you are missing and it might not apply to you and cause it might cause you a rejection. And then you come back to me and say, oh my goodness, Nexi, Roost girl Rosalind from Nexi said this, said that, and I applied it and it didn't work for me, and she gave me nonsense excuse or nonsense advice. So no, like I've always said, and I'm always going to be saying, no two visa application is the same because no two people have the same exact case. Some people have history, some people have different issues. So you have to take those issues holistically before you can actually advise them appropriately. So these are just things I'm going to be saying just so that you have an idea. Then I'm also going to be talking about single moms and people with adopted kids. So give me just 1 second. I need to grab my water and then I'll be right back. Okay, so there's so much heat. I need to refresh. Okay. All right. So where is this thing on my note, so that I don't give people nonsense advice? Okay. So now, one thing you don't want to do, one thing you don't want to do is to submit your application, and then your bank statement is not up to 28 days. Now, some people are able to get away with this. Initially, let me just tell you the truth here. Initially, in January and previously, usually, even when your bank statement is not up to 28 days, we can still go ahead and submit your application, pay for your visa, pay for your IHS. Then choose a date beyond when your statement is going to be complete, like 28 days before we pick a date for you to submit your biometrics. So as at the time you submit your biometrics, your bank statement is already 28 days, right? But for this September, some people have been having issues with that. Now they want your bank statement to already be complete as at the time you make your application. So as at the time you're making your application and paying for your visa fee, your bank statement should already be 28 days. It's only after then you can now pick a biometric date. So you see that, imagine your bank statement is going to be mature, let's say on the 30th of August. And you're just there waiting. You can't make an application, you can't submit, you can't do anything until 30th of August. When are you going to get a date for biometrics? So that's something that has been very critical. Some people still go ahead and are lucky. Some people go ahead and then they ask for an updated bank statement. So they might ask you to backdate, or they might ask you for an updated one, from the time you submitted to the time they are requesting. So we don't know, and this is not something that you want to be dealing with. So most times you just advise as at the time you're making your application, make sure your bank statement is 28 days. That's the ideal thing to do. So that's a common mistake, and it's a case-by-case basis. It's a case-by-case issue. Some people get away with it, some people do not get away with it, and we don't know who will get away, who will not get away. So we just advise for you to do the best. Another one that happened to someone who reached out to us was a case where you don't fill your application form the way you're supposed to fill it. So when you've done your application, right, there's a part where you fill for your IHS. Now when you're filling this IHS part, you need to be very sensitive, because if you don't fill it appropriately, when you get to the page where you're supposed to have a figure for your IHS fee, it will not bring out a figure for your IHS fee because you have not put the correct dates, right? So there's a cost start date, there's a cost end date, right? So you might have mixed them up. Now the IHS, to only calculate IHS for you, if your cost is 6 months, is it 9 months and beyond or 6 months and beyond? I can't get this now. So, but if you're going to be in the UK for more than 6 months on anything, you're supposed to pay insurance. So it's only going to calculate IHS for you once you are beyond that timeline. Now, if you put a date mistakenly that is within 6 months, it's going to be free. It's not going to charge you on your IHS, and you get to IHS page and it's 0, and you're happy. Oh, I'm not paying IHS. Oh, I'm lucky. Oh, You go ahead and submit, you make your application, you pay your visa fee, you make your application. My dear, it came back with a rejection, right? Because IHS fee was not paid, right? So what we advise in this case is request for your application fee, because if you make an application, they deny you, application fee is gone. So it's best to request for your application fee and do another application, because there's no way to go back. Or you can submit, which is risky, because usually once they get your application and say that there's no IHS fee attached to it, and they've calculated the duration of your course based on your CAS, because it's gonna be the information is gonna be there on your CAS. Once they've calculated this information, they'll know that okay, you're supposed to pay a fee. Then the UKVI will send you a link. Unfortunately for this person I'm talking about, they said they sent him link several times and never responded. But he didn't get any link, right? He didn't get any link for that particular duration because he was glued to his email, for updates, but nothing came through. However, they said they sent him, he did not, go to the link, he didn't make IHS payment, and so he didn't get the visa. So that is very critical. You need to be very thorough when you're putting dates. That's why I say work with someone that knows, so that mistakes are not, an issue for you. So another thing that can cause issues for you, avoidable mistakes. If you have had history, if you have had success or rejection or any kind of history you've had with the UK, you don't just submit an application like that. So I'm going to give you an instance of someone who actually got a 10-year ban for something so flimsy that could have been corrected, of which the case was even true. It's just that as at that period, she had two things going on for her. She used one at the initial stage, and then she now used another case when she was applying for a student visa. So let me just say it. Yes, I'll speak about single moms when I'm done with common mistakes. So what happened is she had applied for a visit visa in 2020 and put in a particular detail of her work. She got references and all from a particular company that she was working for actually, but part-time, because it was owned by a family, so she was working part-time and all that, and being paid on commission. Then during that period as well, she also had her business she was running. You know how people work with one person, but you're also running business, because obviously you need income, right? You need to be able to sustain a particular lifestyle. And this girl's business was doing well, but at the time she made the application, she had not registered the business. So eventually she registered the business, but she had been doing the business years before she even registered that business. So when it now came to application, she made the application herself and put in her business details. That's what she has been doing even beyond when she started working for that other company. She made no mention of that other company, even though as at that time she was working for that company on a commission basis, right? And it came back to her that she wasn't genuine, and the information they had of her before was that she was with this place and had been there for a particular amount of time. That was the information they had. And then she submitted an application, and then she submitted something else saying that she's self-employed and all that. What the hell is that? And they banned her for 10 years because she's not being truthful. So, but where do you want to start the fight from? Oh, I was being truthful. That time it was commission job, and I also had this one. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I decided not to put in. Where do you want to start from? Now, I know a lot of you are in this case because you have worked somewhere, maybe doing NYC, you can't get reference. You have maybe done one thing here, you can't, get the details or something like that. So you decide that you want to remove it. Meanwhile, you have already made application to the UK, putting that information there. Then you will now want to remove it. My dear, you are risking a rejection, not just a rejection, a ban for being untruthful. So these are things that I cannot go into so much details, right? Because like I said, it is case by case. So if you have had any history, both success, both rejection, like for me, someone like me now, I've gotten several UK visas, yeah, and I keep on my applications. From the very first visa application I did to the very last, I maintain my story. In fact, something funny happened. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention it here, but I'll just go ahead and mention. Something funny happened. I got the year of my dad wrong. The date of birth of my dad, I got it wrong. By the time I was applying again, I already knew that I'd gotten it wrong the first time by just a year. But I just decided to maintain that one because, for Christ's sake, my dad is old. He's there. He's not going anywhere. So I'm just using it like that. If it gets to the point where I need to correct it, I might probably bring his passport, do an affidavit, do certain things to say, oh, it was an omission at that time. I just got to find out, blah, blah, blah. Most of these people, most of our parents don't even know their real year of birth self to begin with, you know. So what I'm just trying to say is you need to be consistent in your information. So even when you've made a mistake, and a mistake is something that can be overlooked, sometimes you want to maintain it. But if it's something that cannot be overlooked, there are ways you can actually address it. I'm not going to talk about how you're going to address it here. You need to contact us to know how to address it. So for you and or your spouse, what did I say? For you and or your spouse. So if it is you that have had history and your spouse, or if it's either you or your spouse that have had any history with the UK, please contact us. This also applies for rejections from other countries. So US, Schengen countries, Canada, those 3 countries. If you've had previous rejections and in your previous applications, you've also indicated that you've had previous rejections, please and please contact us. Let's know how to help you. So those are common mistakes. I'm going to take your questions very, very soon, so you can actually ask me more questions. I'm actually very hot, yeah. So for single mothers, a lot of my beautiful ladies are, you want to study abroad, you want to be able to take your kid or kids along with you, but it is very, very critical, not just for the UK, even for the US, even for Canada, whichever country you're going to, you need to have some particular documentations for you to be able to go with your child, unfortunately. Now, for single mothers, please and please, the surest way to get your child to go along with you is to actually get sole custody. That's the only way, honestly, because we've had applications from people who did not have sole custody and it was rejected. Now, the people that did not have sole custody that were not rejected, it's on very, very special case where you can prove maybe domestic violence, or you can prove, the person was never, in the child's life, or maybe from even the birth certificate, it's just your name that is there. So I've had someone who, from the birth certificate, it was just her name. The father's name never appeared and all. So you just do a court, whatever, and say, I don't know the father. The father was never there, something like that. So, but as long as the child's birth certificate has the father's name, and you are not married and you are not going together, you need to have sole custody, right? Even if you are married and say your husband wants to continue working because he works in Zenny Bank and he wants you and the kids to go along, you cannot apply with your kids alone. No. You can't apply and say, oh, I'm going with my kids, my husband consents. No, your husband has to also apply along with you. So both parents, children. The idea is both parents are supposed to help support. You can't be going to school and taking care of kids, especially kids that are still really young. And in the UK, they don't joke with kids' welfare. You guys already know that. They will collect your children from you. So they don't joke with kids. So they want to be sure that these kids are going to be well taken care of. So if your case is that you are not able to travel with the father or the mother of this child, you must prove that you have sole custody. And then there are other things you also do, right? I'm not going to spill everything here because these are things that we do for our clients, but there are other things you actually also need to prove to show that you will be able to take care of the kids alone once you are there. So it goes beyond just having just sole custody. There's other documentation. So reach out to us and I'm going to be telling you that. Now, if your if your baby father or baby mama, whichever one, is already in the UK, that's another case, right? If the person has legal status in the UK, now the person is not in Nigeria, he is in the UK, you don't have sole custody, you have joint parental rights to the child. There are also other ways you can go about it, because the issue of the father not being there or the mother not being there is not there. So there are other ways you can prove that, okay, I want to bring my child in through this way the father or the mother is already there. Now, if you have adopted children, then you must have the documentation from the court. Now, when I say full custody for the single mothers, I mean like court like what they call it, injunction, what's the word, are there any lawyers here? Please bail me out. So you have to have that document from court that says a judge has presided over this matter, a judge has read all the case concerning this child and the parents involved, and a judge has certified that this child should solely be taken care of by this party, either the mom or the child, and that person has that sole responsibility to make all decisions concerning that child, right? Now, if it's for adoption as well, like, okay, you have your sister's child or a child you brought your cousin or whatever, that's been living with you, you love this child very well. I have a lot of clients that they have people that have been living with them for 4, 5, 10 years. I'm like, I can't go without this child. This girl has been with me for so long. She's my life. I can't leave her in Nigeria. As I'm going with my family, she must come. I beg you in the name of God, you cannot go with that child without having legal adoption papers, and adoption papers take time. So if you have it in your head that you want to do, you can always start it. When you go and your adoption papers become all right, you can then bring that child along. But without those adoption papers, I'm sorry, there's nothing you can do as of now until you get the legal adoption papers that states that you're either the legal guardian of those children or you're now the adopted parents of those children. So those are the cases, and the child must be 16 or below, so you can't carry an adult, right? So if somebody has lived with you for 5 years and the person is already 15, it might not work, because before you get the papers done and all that, the person might already be too old. But obviously, still contact us. Let's look at your case. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anything is possible, having the right advice. Oh, I talk very fast. Sorry for that. If some people are not hearing me very well, please apologies. I just tend to talk very fast and even lose my breath at times. So I'm going to be answering questions now. So just keep putting your questions. I'm going to scroll up to answer the ones that have already been asked. Then I'll get down to answer your questions. Ooh. Okay, so let me see. So Mabelina Concept says, tell me about the duration of what? Okay, no, let me go up. So please, how long is student visa taking now? Student visa takes 3 weeks now, from the day you submit your biometrics. 3 weeks. So please tell me about the duration. So duration of what? I don't know. 3 weeks. It takes 3 weeks to. Hello, good afternoon. He does it. How does it take to receive admission, most especially those you applied for from NEDC? Now, it depends on the school. So each school have their admission timeline. Even though we're talking about visa, each school has their admission timeline. Some school will give you admission in a week. They process it, especially when all your documents are complete. Some school will take 2 months. Some schools will take 1 month. Some schools will take 2 weeks. So it's cool. It's on a school by school decision or basis or something like that. So it's so usually when you work with an agency, you might actually be out slightly faster than when you apply by yourself, but usually they have a timeline that they work with. How do I know you have applied to the school for over a week now? I'm still not received any email. Okay, so this is admission related. So it depends. I'm going to be answering this. So it depends on the school that you have selected for application. Now, as an agent to schools, sometimes these schools provide us with our own portal. So we don't just make the application like you going to their website to apply for the school. That you're putting your own information there. Now they give us a portal where we can submit on behalf of our students, right? So once that is done, in most cases, you as a student will not be getting that email. We will be updating you from our end that these things have been done. but if there's any updates, because your email has been provided, the school will be contacting you directly. So say you need to do a questionnaire, maybe a criminal whatever questionnaire that the school might want to ask, or they need further documentation or stuff like that. Sometimes it will come directly to you. But in terms of that email you're going to get after submitting an application, for some schools you might not get it, because you use an agent portal, and that portal is for us. Do you get? So that's why that might be like that sometimes. So, but this doesn't apply to all schools. Some schools, when we make the application, you get it because their system allows for that. So it's school by school. John said, "Why you they sweat?" Sorry, guys, it's kind of hot where I am. What about in a case where the age in your international passport is different? If it's international passport, usually we advise that you change it. But honestly, anything that has to do with passports now in Nigeria, it's really critical. Like, I know people that are still struggling, so you might want to risk using an affidavit. Affidavits usually will suffice, for discrepancies and all. But it's fingers crossed, because anything that has to do with passport, that's a document that you're supposed to have all your information correct. If it was like your WIEC certificate or even your school certificate or whatever, you probably might be able to easily do it, because that's a one-off thing that you're not going to be using on a daily basis. But when it's your international passport, it's really critical. So the best deal is to actually get that fixed, but I know how long that would take. Yeah. So if you've had previous international passports, you might want to attach maybe a biodata page of that, and then an affidavit. But like I said, it's fingers crossed. I'm not telling you that it's going to work. For international passports, it's a case by case. It depends on the person that's reviewing your application. But your best bet is please try to change it. From the age of your WIEC result, does affidavit cover that? Yes, affidavit will cover your WIEC. So for people that don't understand, are just coming in, I talked about having an affidavit for discrepancies in your documentation. So when you're making an application, I talked about all the documentation you're going to need. So let me just go over it again. You're going to need your CAS, your tuberculosis test, your 28-day bank statement as at the time you're submitting your application. You're going to need all the documents mentioned in your CAS, which is your certificate, your WIEC, your transcript, what else? What other thing? IELTS if you did IELTS, references if your school mentions them on your application, CV if you want to put your CV. Yeah, because if you put your CV, most times they might not get back to you. But if you don't put your CV and your references, they might get back to you to ask, tell us what you have been doing between this time and this time. So you now still have to update them on the things that you have been doing. So it all depends on what you want. If you want them to get back to you, or if you want to just do it at once. So it depends. It doesn't cause a rejection. It might just elongate your application. So I said if there are discrepancies in, say, your WIEC or certificate, say maybe a misspelled name, the age is different, or one or two informations are not just really clear, an affidavit will suffice for that. So that's why this person is asking if age is different in WIEC. Yes, for the purpose of visa as of now, yes, it is still being accepted. For the purpose, if it's for passports, discrepancy in your passports, I cannot confirm that right now, please. Is it absolutely necessary to upload family pictures? Not absolutely, especially where you guys already share kids. It's not absolutely necessary. So when your marriage certificate and your children's birth certificate is already telling them that you're married, like, duh, not very necessary. But if it's a recent marriage, let's say a month before you're making your application, no kids, no nothing, we advise that you actually put pictures of your wedding, pictures of before you were even married, just to prove that you didn't just make this marriage because of traveling. Do you get that? You guys have actually been in a relationship before now. So if it's a new marriage, if it's a marriage that doesn't have kids yet and stuff like that, we just advise for pictures. But if you have kids, you're married for a while, you have a marriage certificate, it is not absolutely necessary. It's just something that is good to do. I'm scrolling. Can you do biometrics before visa application? No, you can't do biometrics now, because biometrics basically is submitting your biodata. Your biodata is your face, the picture of your face. Maybe they scan your eye, who knows? then your fingerprints. Yeah. So what are they going to attach it to? They have to attach it to your application, and you can't submit that before you now guys start submitting application. So you need to make your application. Once you're done making your application, then you go in to submit your biometrics that will now be linked to your application. So that's how it works, right? So you cannot do biometrics before visa application. This is Yewande Daniel. Okay, you wanted to speak on single mom. So yeah, single mom, single dad, like I said, please try to get sole custody of your child. I know this can be something really difficult, but that's the only way to be foolproof that you're going to be able to take your child if both of you are in Nigeria. If the other person is legally has a legal status in the UK, then there's something that we'll probably be able to do about it. So you need to contact us, and then we'll give you your options. But if you're both in Nigeria or the person is in another country, then you need to have sole custody. Please, is it necessary to upload family pictures for the dependent? Yes, like I said, it's nice, but if you already have kids and your marriage certificate, there's really no need, but it's just good to upload it, just for the ceremony. But if you're newly married without kids, please, it is necessary so that they don't come back to you with more questions. Do we have to submit the same CV we submitted to school when submitting our documents for visa application? Well, I won't talk about this here because it's kind of sensitive. So if there are cases where you need to update your CV before submission, then why not? You can update your CV, but this is actually very critical because this can actually lead to a refusal if not done well. It's a very critical issue. So please, I would like you to message us on DM, and then digital marketer is going to refer you to me or another of our visa officer, where we can actually give you the appropriate answer. Some things we can actually talk or say out loud, please. Okay. For the rejection, are we required to attach a refusal letter and documentation for the visa application? In some cases, yes. In most cases, no. Now, if you have the rejection letter, all you need is the code, the file number, the rejection letter number. So usually there's a number. So if you have a rejection, automatically you must write a cover note. A cover note is like a letter of explanation or introductory letter and all that. Now, for all our clients, we write a cover note, whether you are a straight A without anything or you have issues. We always write a cover note because it just helps to make your application holistic. That's part of the things we do. If you're our student, we do it for free. If you are not our student, we would actually charge you for this, but we actually help to package your application very holistically to avoid any issues. So what we do is we always write a cover note. Now, on that cover note, if we're addressing any issue that has to do with your rejection, we will quote the refusal document, right? So if you have it, a quote is fine, right? So, but if you don't have it, just making reference to it, and some people don't have it anymore, especially those times when you have to actually collect the paper. Now they send your refusal to your email, so you most likely have it forever. But before they started doing this email thing, some people had paper and they misplaced it, so you don't even have the documents to begin with. So there are other ways to go about it, but you need to make mention of it. In fact, some people that had refusal, I've had somebody that had refusal. Okay, common mistakes again. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. You had refusal, you did not mention you had refusal. Rejection, automatic. There's no way you're going through because they ask you on the application, right? And you refuse to mention that you've had a previous refusal, automatic rejection, right? So you must mention it. In case where you have study gap and you need to submit reference letter, do we have to work with the CV we submitted to the school? Okay, so the CV submitted to the school is a CV that has gone to the school. Let me just address this. It does not have anything to do with what you're submitting to the visa officer, right? So you have to make sure that whatever references you're submitting to the visa for the visa application correlates with the CV that you're also attaching. Do you get? And if your references can even cover for the duration of your study gap, you might not even need your CV. All you need is just to have a cover note to say, okay, I've worked in 3 places, and I worked from this to this on this for this duration, this to this for this duration, this to this for this duration, and I have attached references. So if you want to avoid putting your CV, but if you want to put your CV, make sure the references actually align with what you have on your CV, so there are no gaps. Do you get? So you can't put 2 references and your CV is showing three places that you have worked. So what is that? Do you get? So, but anyways, critical, like I said, always come to us. We can give you advice. How do you know your application is approved? Okay, so if your application is approved, when they send you a message, to your email, they'll say you should come and pick up. So they'll send you a message to come and pick up your visa. So once you get that message, congratulations, your visa has been approved. Now, if you get a message with an attachment, I'm sorry, in most cases, the attachment is actually coming to inform you the reason why your application has been refused. So usually you get that one first. Maybe the next day or a couple of hours later, you now get a message to come and retrieve your passport. Did I say CV the other time? Passport. So if you get a message to come and receive your passport without getting any other message with an attachment, congrats, you have your visa. But if you have any message that has an attachment, in most cases, that's your explanation letter as to why you have been refused. For single moms, where one can prove domestic violence, which storyline will sell at the embassy? Mention separation, even though nothing official yet. This is for US. For the US, this is a case by case basis. I don't really like to talk about sensitive issues on here because some people will take what you said and run away with it and go and make mistakes, But what I can say is, if it's for domestic violence, you need to have proof. You can't just claim someone violated you domestically, or emotionally, physically, whatever way the person has violated you. You have to have evidence. So evidence has to be in form of police reports, maybe court documents, maybe pictures of when those things happen, things like that. Sometimes you might have to work with a lawyer to help you put everything together to actually build a case. So if you can actually build a case, they can use that as a reason to actually consider your application. And obviously you need to build a case that this person is crazy. So obviously the person would not give you sole custody. They will fight it to the end, and you are using this to actually protect yourself and your kids by going away and all that. So you can actually build a case with that. So you can work with us, and also if we do see the need, we might actually call in our lawyer that can also help you to do that. So these are very sensitive. If you're going to be claiming someone has done anything to you, you need to put proof. You can't just claim that somebody's like this. Can you help someone apply to the university, and how much does the entire student visa application cost? Okay, so Augustus Osborne. Now, if you're working with us for the UK or Ireland, it is totally free, both admission processing and visa processing for yourself. If you have family members, then when it's time for visa processing, we actually charge a token for their visa processing So, but for you, the main applicant, is totally free from beginning to end. So please contact us, and our digital marketer is going to transfer you to one of our able counselors who would put you through the process. So January admission is currently on. So for you people that are interested, hurry. Some schools are already closing out. There's no time. It's as if the whole of Nigeria wants to apply to the UK this year. There is no time. And even if there's time to get admission, there might not be time to get your CAS or other documentations ready in time for your visa application come January. So you need to hurry. If you have decided to go, start now. If you have documentations you need to get done or approved or whatever, start getting them now. So for people that are even interested in January, there's nothing wrong with actually you getting your tuberculosis date now, because you probably not even get a date till next month or next 2 months, and your tuberculosis test is for 6 months. So if you're applying for your visa in December, it's still way valid. So please start now. Get your transcripts, get your references, get all the documents you need. What's the time? Oh, I'm already past my I'm supposed to actually stop by 1. Where I am is actually 2 o'clock. But I'll just do another 15 minutes with you guys and answer all the questions I have. So then the birth certificate of a child, what surname should I use? As all my details, passports, admission, etc. has my maiden name. Lost his birth certificate. I want to get another. How do you advise? What is the child's name? If you're the woman, the child's name doesn't really matter now, as long as the birth certificate says that you're the mom. So if the child is bearing a father's surname, then what was the him at birth, just continue with that, so you don't complicate issues. As long as you can prove that you are the mother, then it's fine, right? The child doesn't really necessarily have to bear the same name with you if you're not married to the man, but the birth certificate has to say you are the mom of the child. So you can go and reissue another birth certificate with that name. You don't need to change the child's name for the purpose of visa and whatever. Your child can bear a different name from you, and you can still use the birth certificate, or even do a DNA test or something. You are the mom now, so it's not a problem. No, don't change. Please use his original birth certificate. Don't complicate your issues. Don't advise. Don't write your own story. Don't change it. Well, it depends. Anyways, you can contact us to find out why you want to change it. Is the father not responsible for the child? Is there any issue between you and the father, and is it not going to cause any problems? So you need to be sure. And even if you're changing the name, get the original birth certificate, then go and do an affidavit to say this child's name has changed. It was formerly known as so, now he's known as so. So it's official. So that tomorrow, what if the father has the birth certificate, a copy of it, and then he comes to contest it, and then the embassy is like, why did you produce a different birth certificate for the same person? You don't want to put yourself in problem. Trigger. So you need to cover your steps, or cover your tracks, right? A TB test is one of my dependents. Read a TB test in one of my dependents. Read no TB, but abdominal was checked for chest X-ray. Can it be used to apply for visa? As the document at IOM said, no problem. Have you seen such case? As long as you have that test certificate, it's fine. If you have that test certificate, as long as it's a test certificate, whatever results they get is fine. There's no tuberculosis found. I don't know what you said. Abnormal was checked. Is it abdominal was checked? Abdomen was checked for X-ray or what? I don't really understand what that means. If they see anything in there, they're actually going to report it, that they saw if there was any abnormalities in the chest and all that. I'm guessing. I don't really understand the question when you say but abnormal was checked for chest X-ray. But as long as you have the TB certificate, it's fine. In a case where the UKVI requests for payslip and there is no payslip available, what should be done? If you don't have payslip, then you were paid in some way, right? You should have your account that correlates with payment of salaries, right? So you can come to us anyways, but I'll just give you a rough answer. This doesn't cover everything. You can actually use your bank statement that shows where the company name appears on your bank statement paying you your salaries, and then you have an explanation note, talking about the circumstance, right? So you can do that, and you can contact us and we can help you with that. How do you know your application is positive after 3 weeks submission? Like I just said, if your application is positive, you get an email to come and collect your passport without any attachment in it. That means you have been given your visa. If there's attachment, that's stories telling you why they have not approved your visa. If your rejection is over 10 years, does it still count? Yes, if your rejection is 10 years for UK, it still counts. So if UK is, have you ever been rejected? They did not say, have you been rejected in the last 10 years? For other countries, they'll say, in the last 10 years, have you been rejected? So if it is more than 10 years for other countries, US, Canada, Schengen, South Africa, whatever, you name it, then if it's after 10 years, there's no need to mention it, yeah? But if it is within 10 years, well, you're obligated to mention it. Then for UK, if you were 1 year old and you are now 30 years old and your parents applied for you when you were 1 year old and you got a rejection and you know about it, mention it, that I can't remember the dates or whatever, but I got a rejection when I made an application with my parents when I was 1 year old. You just have to mention it. It's not a big deal. If your CV is not quoted on your CAS, must you upload it? No. If it's not quoted on your CAS, it is not a must you upload it. However, the reason people upload it is because when you don't upload what you've been doing between when you finished your studies and now, the UKVI normally will get back to you to say, okay, tell us what you've been doing. So usually when you put your CV just explains what you've been doing. However, CV is just a document that they will not buy. What they will buy really are the references or employment details, like employment letter and stuff that you can use to back up whatever employment that you have held within that period, right? So no, your CV is not important to upload. Does University of Sutherland have general intake? Because I might have to defer based on loan one frame for October, and the admission is not yet out. I don't understand what you mean, but if Sutherland has January, I guess, but it depends on the course. Not all courses are available, so you need to confirm if that course is available for January so that you can defer to January. If not, you might have to change course to one that is available in January, or you have to defer to September next year. Must one mention Canada refusal for 4 years while applying for UK study visa? Please contact us with this. I can't actually say it out. Sorry, I mean time frame. Okay. What's the percentage of students refusal? Oh, percentage, I would say 9-1. Mostly they mostly give the visa if your application is done well. There's no reason for them to reject you. Like I said, it's these common mistakes, avoidable stupid mistakes that make people get rejected, such as this IHS thing. Now, no reason apart from the fact that they said they sent him a link and he didn't click on the link, or someone who did not do an application well and put in one detail, and previous applications that she had made before had another detail, some kind of flimsy excuse, or your bank statement was not mature, things that are avoidable. So if you actually work with us, the chances of you getting a refusal is very, very slim. Proof of funds, how can you assist? Please, I do not know. You can contact us on our DM, with further questions. There's proof of domestic violence. There's a doc where both parties and agents represent Lagos. If you have all these things, please contact us and we can help you with that. If you already have all these things, then at least you're one step ahead. Can one get a school with 2,000 initial deposit? Yes, there are schools with 2,000 initial deposit, but the 2,000 initial deposit is not all you are going to think about. You're going to think about what you're going to use to pay for your IHS and visa fee. You're also going to think about the 50%, because most times, even when you pay the 2,000, by on enrollment, you also need to pay 50% of the fee. So you have to account for that, even though you do not need it immediately. So please think about that. What are the chances of September entrance if one is still awaiting CAS at this time? If your school has not told you outrightly that there is no hope for CAS, then you still have hope. As long as your CAS come out, you can still make September. You can still make September, especially if your course start date is in late September. You can still make it. Please, will the new pound rate affect proof of funds that is running? Yes, of course. It's a pound rate that you have that is going to determine what proof of fund you're supposed to have. So as at the time your proof of fund is mature, you are going to be using the Owanda rate for pounds to calculate, with your proof of funds for your maintenance cost, tuition balance, and if you have dependents, your dependents maintenance cost as well. When you calculate everything, you convert it with the existing exchange rate, before you submit. Don't go and submit a proof of fund that is less. So if your proof of fund is less by 1 naira, they'll deny you. These people look for flimsy excuse to deny, so you don't want those things. So usually what we advise is don't always use the existing exchange rate. Always put like 50 naira above. So let's say the exchange rate is 550, mu 600. Now exchange rate is around 510 or 500 or something like that. Use 550. No matter how the thing wants to fluctuate, it won't jump by 40 naira or 50 naira. Do you get? So you are always in the clear. But if exchange rate at the time you put it was 500 and you used 500 to calculate and you put it, and when you want to submit, exchange rate is 550, that's it. You have to start another 1 month because it's lesser. You have to start another 1 month. So please, thank you for this question. It's a very, very critical one. Exchange rate is not a constant thing. It is not static. It fluctuates on a day by day. In fact, even on the same day, it can fluctuate. So what you need to do is always have a balance above your proof of funds. and the minimum balance we recommend is 50 naira to each pound. So if pound is 550, make it 600. If pound is 500, make it 550. If pound is 600, make it 650. Do you get? Please, please, and please, so that any fluctuations, you're still in the clear. I'm asking for my surname. I'm his mom. We were married. My dog has my maiden name. I lost my son's birth certificate. Want to do another? The lost one has my married surname. For the new, please use what was in his birth certificate from the beginning. You were married, which means that he was bearing your husband's surname. It is not a crime. If you are divorced, have a legal divorce document and his birth certificate showing that he bears his father's name. It is fine. If you want to now change his name to your name because you don't want him bearing your father's surname, then do an affidavit changing his name, but his birth certificate still remains his birth certificate. You're not supposed to change it. You can't change birth certificate because that was what he was at the time he was born. Birth certificate should carry what it was carrying. If you want to change his name, go and do change of name. So anytime he's submitting his birth certificate, he will submit the affidavit to also show that, though this is my birth certificate, this was what I was bearing at birth, my name has changed as of this time. Please, please, and please go and do the birth certificate with what it was bearing as at when he was born. Do one need to declare US refusal even though the refusal was given after various visits to the US? Please contact us for this. We will need to look at your case, at your this thing case by case. 50%, when do you students pay on enrollment? When does it mean to pay immediately, or does it have a time frame? All right, questions are much. Okay, so 50% is when you get your offer, you pay a deposit. So a school might say pay 2,000 deposits. They'll now give you a document called your CAS. Your CAS is what you need to get your visa. Now, once you get your visa, you get to the UK. Depending on how long it took you to get to the UK, when you are resuming, it might be maybe a week after you got in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, depending on how long it took you. Yeah. On the day of enrollment is the day that you are enrolled in school, that you have started your program. By that day, you should have made up to 50% of your tuition fee for a lot of schools. Some schools will be 33%, some schools will be a specific amount, but most schools is 50%. So the time frame basically is when you get to the UK, on the day that you are doing, I have entered school, or the school has done the matric or whatever they call it, and you're enrolling on your programs, for your programs and all that. As at the time you're doing that, you should have paid. They will actually give you the date of enrollment, so you will know the dates that you're supposed to have made that payment. What's the current change in pounds rate affects? Would the current change? Yes, it will affect your proof of funds. You already asked these questions. The current rate is the going rate that affects proof of funds. That's why when you're doing proof of funds, don't use the rates as at the time you're doing it. Always make it higher. How many weeks does it take for visa to come out? 3 weeks. As of now, it's 3 weeks. Okay, so that's the end of the questions. Please don't put more questions. If you have more questions, hit us up on our DMs, and then you direct it to the appropriate person that can actually answer your questions. I think I am 20 minutes off because I started about 5 or 6 minutes late, and this is already 20 minutes past 1. So I'm actually 20 minutes off the time. So I'm gonna be telling you guys bye for now. Okay, one last question. Femi Davis. Please, on my marriage certificate, my name was written as Davis, while on my passport is Davis. Can I apply with this as dependent, please? I need your answer. Yeah, with an affidavit. Just use an affidavit. Since it's on your marriage certificate, it's fine. Use an affidavit to clear that up, that you are Davis, and the Davis that appears on your marriage certificate and here is the same, blah, 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 blah. It's the same. An affidavit will suffice for that. But if you need further clarification, please contact us. We can tell you how to go about it appropriately. So that's the last question for us. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone, for actually coming here to, partake in this. It's been amazing, having this conversation with you. Obviously, it's never enough time. Even if I'm here 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, it's never enough time to actually clear all the information and backlogs that we have. That's why we always say these are just for information purposes. You need help, you need inquiries, you need whatever, we are with you 24/7. So hit us up and we'll definitely hook you up right. So from me, it is a bye. Okay, precast interview, how important it is. Precast interview, depending on the school, yeah. For precast interview, if you don't pass it for that school, that's it. You're not getting your CAS. Your admission is off. So you need to pass your pre-CAS interview if your school requires pre-CAS interview. So they're going to give you a date. They are going to call you up on phone or on Skype or whichever medium they want to use and interview you. So if you're going to a school that requires pre-CAS interview, you must pass it. The good thing with us is if you're working with us, we would always prep you for pre-CAS. We don't leave you. Sometimes we train you up to 2, 3, 4 times so that you're comfortable to answer any questions. Abosede said you didn't answer my question. Abosede, I'm so sorry. I didn't get your question. I probably skipped it. Thank you. Love you too, Chama. Please, I asked a question. Please, oh my God, it's a question. Is priority visa out? No, priority visa out is priority visa. Priority visa is not out. If you have a question, please request for Rose or go to our link on our bio. Just go to speak with the visa agent. Speak to visa, anything that has to do with visa. Anyways, our visa counselor. Once you click on that, you're getting to me directly, so you can actually ask me all the questions you want to ask. Please, I've taken too much time. Please, thank you, Jenny. So bye.